Hi folks, how are you doing? Let us see the most interesting game from the 6th round of the Baku FIDE Grand Prix 2014. It was involving Fabiano Caruana with white pieces and the Russian GM Peter Svidler. And of course it was a very interesting game. We had a decisive result here. And well, almost all games played by Fabiano Caruana nowadays are very widely followed, because now he's the sensation of chess right now, narrowing the gap with Magnus Carlsen. He's around 2850 on live ratings right now, something that it was kind of unbelievable for anybody but Carlsen to reach just a couple of months ago. So he's having sensational performances in St. Louis, in the Grunfeld Cup, in Bilbao. Now here in Baku, not a bad performance at all. So let's see what happened today. He was white against Svidler, and he played 1d4, switching between e4 and d4. Knight f6, c4, g6. You know, Peter Svidler is probably the best player of the Grunfeld with black pieces in the world. He's a great connoisseur of this opening, very, very well respected theoretician of in this defense. So it was kind of interesting to see Caruana trying to challenge Svidler in his favorite opening, and he plays this f3 funky move, trying to establish a strong pawn center with e4, defending the e4 square. And of course, if black wants to play a King's Indian here, now he plays bishop g7, later d6, and this is a Samish variation of the King's Indian. But Grunfeld is the weapon of Svidler against anybody in the world for decades. For now, it served him very, very well. So why was he going to refuse the theoretical battle here? C takes, knight takes, e4, knight b6. This is an interesting position. Of course, very theoretical, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, this was kind of revived or came into popularity after Anand used it to score a quick victory in his World Championship match against Boris Gelfand in 2012, if I'm not mistaken, or it was 2011, I don't know, a couple of years ago. So Anand had a quick victory with white pieces against Gelfand with this f3 move, and suddenly all top players started to investigate it and playing it. I remember, for instance, a nice game of Aronian with white pieces in Wyken Z, who scored quite a convincing and fast victory against Fabiano Caruana himself. So here basically we have two of the greatest experts in the world on the Grunfeld. Both of them use Grunfeld as one of the main, if not the main, defense against 1d4 as black. So an interesting theoretical battle here today. Knight c3, bishop g7, this has been played hundreds of times. Bishop e3, black castles, and white puts the queen on d2, having very aggressive setups in mind, like castling long, controlling with both the queen and the bishop this dark square diagonal to have possibilities of launching a kingside attack here. So very interesting setup. Similar in his ideas, I think, to lots of open Sicilian lines when opposite side castle happen, and both players try to checkmate their opponent's king very soon. Knight to c6. Black is pushing very hard against this d4 pawn, attacking it with 3 pieces knight now, and the way white defends it is in a very, very natural long castle way. The rook is behind the queen defending d4. White is completing development. Here e5 and f5, according to the database I'm consulting, are major options here. I kind of recall these moves, having seen in some games I've analyzed. But here Grunfeld, Svidler, as I said, probably the best theoretician on the Grunfeld in the world, plays a secondary move, which is also move queen d6, kind of trying to provoke white into committing some of his pieces, trying to attack this queen, like knight b5 is possible now, but the queen is happily going back to d7 and the knight isn't that well placed on b5, then it was on c3. but you can be sure Caruana had prepared this at home. This was home preparation. He's an excellent opening player, so he plays king b1. Another possibility, just prophylactic move with the king, going to b1, safe move, waiting for black to develop his pieces. And we got e6. I'm probably wrong, but this appears as a novelty in the database I'm consulting. So 10 a6 may be the novelty of the game, which, but by the way, I insist, it's this probably wrong, because this is a very popular line, and I'm sure lots of people have played this lots of times. So I think this has the idea of the ideas are very similar to the same a6 move in the Sicilian Najdorf. Stop any white pieces from landing to b5, molesting here, and also I think future b5, attacking here on the queen side would be useful. So a6 supporting the b5 square seems a reasonable move here. And Caruana isn't waiting for black, he's pushing already h4, so it's very logical to try to attack on the king side here. And as Bobby Fischer would say about the dragon, which is basically very similar to this structure, right? The mainline dragons, the Yugoslav attack, very similar to this. Open the h file, sack and mate. So this is what is all going to be about. The main plan would be something like that: opposite side castling, opposite side attacking, and whoever gets there first, touchdown, wins the game. Rook to d8 was played here, putting even more pressure on the d4 pawn, and almost forcing d5 committal move. Of course, white would rather have these pawns on e4 and d4, flexible pawn, central pawn formation, but now d5 must be played. The knight goes to e5 with a very interesting idea. Now look at these both knights of black pointing at c4, and what black is willing to do is to go with some knight here. It would be exchanged, but he has the other one, and fork the white queen and bishop, and ultimately exchange them. I mean, if white just plays something which could be seeming very natural, g4, I'm trying to attack, so I push my pawns. Now black gets a very comfortable position after this sequence. Knight from b, for instance, to c4, bishop takes, the other knight takes, and now the queen goes, say, to f2, knight takes, queen takes, and now black has the bishop pair. This bishop on g7 is very good piece. And after a move like b5, following with ideas like b4, a5, black is having a comfortable position. White doesn't have any more bishops to attack here on the king side, so this is a quite comfortable position for black. Of course, Caruana can feel that, and he doesn't want to allow it, so he plays queen to f2, getting away from the d2 square where the knight would be molesting him. And now both queen and bishop are attacking the c5 square, where this queen, you can see, is kind of lacking some space, lacking some squares, so could be a little bit uncomfortable for black if bishop c5 is played. Svidler plays h5 with the idea of trying to make g4 as difficult as possible for white to make. I mean, if white isn't able to attack here on the king side, certainly Svidler would be much happier in this game, because now he's controlling the g4 important square with the pawn, with the knight, with the bishop on c8, so g4 isn't that easy to make as it was before. So okay, it's an idea, but now bishop goes to c5, attacks the queen, queen f6. Okay, black has this battery, which in the future could be important. I mean, white has to be careful about it. He can't just go around with his pieces like nothing's going on, because if these knights go around and the queen isn't defending, that's a checkmate threat, so something to take account. But the bishop goes back. Very nice d4 square for the bishop, controlling this dark square diagonal, which is one of the prides of black in the Grunfeld or in the Dragon, in these kinds of positions. In this case, moreover, because we have the queen on f6, so this is basically a nasty pin against this knight, and that's why black must get away with the queen from there. So I guess Svidler would be very happy to repeat moves here. Bishop c5, queen f6, they would shake hands and go to the hotel room. But Caruana was ambitious here. He senses he has some advantage, so he goes g4 anyway, even though black played h5. All his point being that after h takes he's not going to recapture, but keeps pushing his pawn to f4 in this case, having lots of mobile pawns here, the e pawn, f pawn, h pawn, very important, all of them providing him interesting breakthroughs here on the king side. Look at these f5 possibilities. h5 is very natural, so whenever he opens files here on the king side and gets some of his pieces, underdeveloped pieces here on the king side into play, like the bishop, the knight, this should be very great advantage for white. So apart from that, knight d7, and just look at these, black's pieces are kind of lacking space, they're stepping on one another's feet, and certainly this isn't a very pleasant situation. It may not be the end of the world, but certainly white's good pawn structure in the center, absolute control of the center with his pawns, are making creating this disturbance for black pieces. No space, no coordination, no harmony there. And add to that this very nice placed bishop is very likely to be exchanged, and the probable attack on the king side, this makes this position quite uncomfortable already for black. And well, in this critical point, the engine was favoring a lot a move like knight ge2, completing development with this knight, reinforcing the centralized and very important bishop on d4. And after something like bishop takes, knight takes, white has lots of space, free play for the pawn, attacking possibilities on the king side. Black has no harmony or coordination at all, so I guess anybody in the world would rather have white position here, white pieces. But Caruana went another way. He plays pawn to e5, and basically forcing the piece sacrifice by black here. But in fact, this is as much as this is kind of an only move for black, this is enough for black, and it almost relieves Svidler, I guess, because black is getting three pawns for his piece, and he's exchanging some pieces, which is good when you are lacking space, when you don't have that much space to move your pieces. And okay, now his pieces aren't that badly placed anymore. Bishop to g2, he takes on d4 as well, rook takes, and now bishop f5 check, king a1, e5. Very precise moves here by Svidler, excellent play. These last 3-4 moves are very exact, and according to the comp, this is giving black complete equality here, and certainly no more pieces stepping on colleagues' feet. Development is complete, rooks connected, not that bad. I mean, his king is not that safe, but black is not doing that bad here, as he was a couple of moves ago when he was up a pawn, but his pieces were horribly placed, one aside another. Rook goes back to d1, as it cannot be taken the pawn, the rook was hanging on d4. And knight to c4, excellent knight here, excellent place for the knight, having lots of possibilities, controlling interesting dark squares in the middle of the board. A good knight, definitely. h5, of course white has to try to keep his plan and attack on the king side. That's basically what he has with the rook on h1. Svidler plays queen b6, offering a queen exchange, and also saying, hey, don't you go too far with the queen, as checkmate is threatened on b2. So the queen cannot go say h4, saying, hey, I'm going to open the h file and checkmate, because black gets there first. A queen exchange would certainly favor black, I guess. Black now has these doubled pawns, but they are really willing to be pushed. b5 is protected, so b5, a5, b4, a4. The c file is open, so the rook can go there, and black could even have initiative here, could even be better, as white doesn't have that much development on this side, just remember. but instead Caruana just moves the queen along the second rank, queen to e2. Now knight to e3 was placed, attacking the rook and attacking the bishop, and the bishop on g2 is a good piece for white. It's developed, which is not something you can say about this knight on g1, for instance, so black would be happy to exchange this particularly good bishop of Caruana. Rook to d2 was played. Okay, you're overprotecting the second rank, but may sound a little bit bizarre move. King g7, prophylactic against any opening of the h-file, say. And here bishop e4 was played by Caruana. I mean, the position isn't easy, but according to the computer, if bishop takes, knight takes, f5 was played. This is a brave move, but the engine says this is giving black a very comfortable position, even if knight g5. And the position is complex. I mean, one could argue that a human could be worried about black king's safety and all these white pieces attacking, like the knight, the h pawn, the rook on the h file, etc. But on the other hand, there aren't that many white pieces to attack black king, and it is very important that black has this mass of 3 connected passed pawns on e, f and g, and if, say, white isn't able to achieve anything against black king, in a future later endgame this force could be definitely decisive in black's favor. I mean, 3 connected passed pawns, that's a dream for any chess player. So still it would be very complex position, interesting, but computer says this is cool for black, not that bad. Instead, rook h8 was played by Svidler. I mean, looks natural, why not? You put the rook on the h file, try to neutralize white's kind of hope or advantage on the attack on the h file, but it appears that this is giving white some edge, and Caruana, you know, is like an expert nowadays to get the best out of minimum advantages, and he now plays rook d3 with some simple moves. He's going to I mean, all them based on the actually bad place of this knight on e3. He's going to win tempies and take advantage of that fact to improve a lot his pieces. Now that knight is attacked, it must go back to c4. It's harassed once again, b3, knight goes to d6. Oops, I was too fast there. And now he takes on f5. Well, taking with the pawn seems very ugly, as you're opening more lines against your in front of your king. So knight takes, but now as simple as this, queen takes on g4. White takes a pawn, one of the pawns black had for the piece, and which is more important, now the queen is looking very good here on the g file, attacking black king, which is feeling now not that safe as he could feel a couple of moves ago. Really, out of nowhere, the position turned to be very complicated now for black, as all the compensation he had is basically gone. He had coordination, white didn't. He had the bishop pair, white didn't. So now he doesn't have any more that much of a compensation. Out of kind of desperation, I guess, Peter Svidler tries to create counterplay, e4, knight takes, and rook a e8. I guess trying to speculate with the black back rank weakness of Caruana, but knight to e2. Finally, Caruana develops his last knight on g1, and after 33 moves, Peter Svidler already resigns, as basically he has lost all the compensation counter chances he had for the piece. He's now basically a piece down for a pawn, a couple of pawns, but white has completed development, and which is more important, white has and is going to have very important activity against black king. Say takes, knight is going to jump there, the other knight is controlling squares, the rook could come here, so it appears to be a hopeless position for black here, and so Super GM from Russia he can sense it. Peter Svidler resigned the game. I'm sure someone like me would lose this with white 1,000 times, of course, but I know this kind of people, these people this strong, can feel and do trust their opponents to feel that white has a very great edge here. So there it goes, another victory for Fabiano Caruana, who is in spectacular form, really amazing, something very, very strange to see in these top players playing against the creme of the world, the best from the elite, who's now, I mean, Fabiano is now on 2850 plus on live ratings. That's insane, narrowing the gap with Carlsen as something like 10 or 12. Just a couple of months ago, Carlsen's advantage against Aronian, who was the second ranked, was almost 100 points, or maybe 70 or 80, something like that, and now Caruana is as far as 12 points. Well, that's a very great performances. That's a couple of great performances actually for Caruana. Really shocking world of chess. Let's see how far he can get. Thanks for watching.